Pokemon Amber, episode 15, Ground Type
Hello,
Evolution.
everyone, and welcome
Or
to
Eeveelution,
episode
I
15.
should say.
I'm Gabe, and today
Seems like we're
going to
be taking care of
ground
it.
type gym leader.
We've got a bit of a
leading
pattern. We got the
new
bug
evolution,
type, way
and
back a
at the
couple
end,
episodes.
I'll be asking for
Flying type,
suggestions
wait a
to
couple
design
episodes.
more of your
Ground
ideas.
type. Bit of a
But
pattern,
first,
maybe?
Here's a
Who
quick
knows?
recap. In the
I totally
last
haven't
episode,
checked to make sure
you
ahead of time.
traveled
That would be
down
silly.
Route 7 and ran into Professor Ginkgo. She
We
tested
invite
you
the
in battle
Rhinoceros
and let
thing.
you know that researchers
Wait, no,
will be
Rhinoceros
meeting
is
in
really
Rasty
hard.
Junction to discuss how to deal with Team Arc.
Or something, I think. Either way, yeah. I feel so bad for the rhinos. They just want a little bit of water, and I'm good.
You take the last few
I mean, at least
steps
they're still
into
alive, I
Rasty
guess.
Junction, and to your surprise, the Pokemon egg that you have been carrying since Route 6
That I
finally
completely forgot
hatches.
about.
And you know what
Oh,
we
hello.
really haven't had yet? An
Aardvark?
intentionally ugly design.
Ugh.
A lot of people dislike designs
Oh no,
like
Norton!
Trubbish, but, you know, I love little Trubbish. So, we're going to have a gloopy
Not
and
every Pokemon can be
sloppy and
pretty. If
ugly
every
little
Pokemon's
design
pretty,
here.
none of them are, you know?
You may be able to tell from the research images that this is based on the evolution of whales. They
Really?
actually evolved from ungulates, which we will reference by it
I
having
know
just
the first
two
whale
little
came to land and
hook-like
grew
nails
legs
on
like
each
that,
foot.
but still.
It took some tweaking to land on the right silhouette. My first pass
Which must have been a
wasn't
freaking
bad, but
clustercluck, because
wasn't
just imagine beaching yourself
enough,
intentionally and
especially
then
for
you being
something
like,
that
okay,
you
now
get
let's keep
from a
doing this
Pokemon
for
egg.
generations.
The other main design inspiration, and
What?
where it gets its typing from, are the
Evolution's
layers of
wild.
mud covering its body. I always love seeing exposed cliffs where you can clearly make out the different sediment layers. So this ugly little whale ancestor will have sedimentary layers
That's
kind of
kinda
built
cool.
up on its back. Beyond just the goopy mud on its back, I gave it a little mask that looks a little bit like a snorkel mask.
I know for a
since
fact
although
if this
it
was
is
a
going to be
3D
mono
model,
ground
its
type,
frickin'
it can still
tail
swim.
would be dripping
All right,
constantly.
let's look at this mess. This is Sedimut, the mud puppy Pokemon.
Oh, wait, I just
This
remembered.
strange Pokemon coats itself in goopy mud as a form of camouflage and defense.
They'll never see
Though
me
weak
now.
to water-type attacks, Sedimut regularly dive into rivers to retrieve globs of mud from the very bottom. They are
Okay.
quite affectionate towards
Man, imagine
trainers
you
who
get an
can
egg
look
and you're like,
past
oh
their
boy, I wonder what it could be.
unappealing
It's this.
However, this unfortunately leads to the trainers being covered in mud.
You kind of like how it looks like that
Its
scuba
ability is
gear
something
on
I'm
now.
calling slippery, so
Like on
that
its head,
raises the
goggles.
Pokemon's speed stat by 2 stages when it is hit by a water-type move.
Interesting.
And what do you think of this ugly little boy?
So
Is it
what
too
will
goopy
die to
for you?
water? It'll get
Would
faster
be
to
a
it before it
disappointment
dies.
when the egg hatched, or would you just give it a hug and get covered in mud anyway? Alright,
I don't know.
continuing into Rasty Junction, the buildings here are
I usually don't
partially
take
buried by
the egg
a
Pokemon with me
resentless
just
desert
because
sands.
my Pokemon
What
team
you
at that
can only
point is
assume
probably
is
even
the
stronger than the
ground-type
egg
at
type.
research building
egg
is
thing,
the
so
most
yeah.
buried by sand. But you wonder if that
Egg
isn't
type, what?
intentional, thematic even. You notice a few researchers meeting in a canopied amphitheater nearby. Among them, you notice the fighting, flying, and normal type head researchers, along with Professor
Oh hey,
Ginkgo.
they're all hanging out.
Chris, the ground type head researcher, is nowhere to be seen.
Really?
And when you approach Professor Ginkgo, she greets you.
Interesting
Welcome
see
to
all the
Rossi
gym leaders
Junction.
come back. Usually
We're
they're
just
forgotten
waiting on
once they're
Chris to
being-
start our meeting. Will you go check on him in his lab?
Heading inside the
Yeah,
large
okay.
area, you do not find Chris.
Dang it.
Instead, a nearby researcher explains that Chris is feeling a bit down and is doing some training. They point to a tunnel that leads down into the earth.
And
They
this will
hand
be
you
our
a series
gym.
of maps
Our
and
actual gym.
diagrams.
Interesting.
Ground type puzzle time. You'll need to find the ground type head researcher somewhere inside a winding subterranean labyrinth.
Oh boy, a
The
maze.
dug tunnels twist and turn and branch in every direction.
Oh, a maze
and
puzzle could be
locked
fun.
gates occasionally block your
different.
path. You'll need to reference the different schematics and maps, which you would either carry with you or they'd be repeated on the walls somehow. Anyway, you would need to compare things like wiring schematics with a partial map of
Damn it,
the
Discord.
door placements
Shut
to
up.
understand what controls open and close certain doors. It takes some time, and you do run into the occasional ground type Pokemon and researcher, but
I
you'll
imagine you
eventually
would not
find
be able to
Chris.
bring the map with you.
You must
just
be
run
one of
along
the
the way
professor's
as
new
you go.
assistants.
Oh, is it you just?
I just don't know what to do. The others want to
You know,
confront Team
I know it's supposed to be
Arc, but
splotches of mud,
that
but I've
hasn't
seen
always
so
worked
much
well
like
for me
anime
in
stuff
my
it makes me
research.
think it's like
But I
what's
suppose
it
you
called?
want to
Reptile
challenge me?
skin.
That will be a good way to take my mind off of things here.
Chris seems unsure of himself.
He's being a
but
true
his
man. When
Pokemon
you
are
don't know
all
what to
too
do in
ready
life,
for a
start
battle.
digging a hole.
He leads with Slithum.
You're not going anywhere in particular, but
Followed
it's easier
by a
than
Shield.
it takes your mind off
These little
things at
Pokemon
least.
are sturdy, but you take them down. Next, he sends out the evolution to the little cracked pot Pokemon Kinsandy. It seems that if you give Kinsandy a Firestone,
Ooh,
it is able to evolve into a big round kiln of a Pokemon.
interesting.
We're going to be combining two main ideas. The first,
An
of course,
oven,
is
apparently.
a kiln. So we're continuing with the process of making pottery. More specifically, the fire that burns in its belly lets it create new pottery shards for it to give to little Kit Sandy. And the second inspiration are Venus or fertility statues.
Hmm.
These exaggerated female forms were made by many of the earliest ancient humans. We'll be taking that general silhouette and applying it to this design. Obviously,
Interesting
we'll
idea.
be omitting some of the more voluptuous details since
Yeah.
this is a Pokemon. But
Absolutely.
I was
And
still
this is
able
made
to
for
land on
children
something
at the
that
end of the
reads
day.
as a Venus statue. What helped the most, I think,
Adults
was
can enjoy it,
taking the small
absolutely,
head
but the
on
target
statue
demographic
with
is
its,
children.
probably braided hair, and turn that into the bricked chimney hat. All right, let's take a
That's
look
cool.
at our fire ground type Vilnus.
I would not have been able
The
to guess the
kiln Pokemon.
voluptuous part
This
thing,
fiery
but
Pokemon
well, they
creates
were omitting that, but
pottery
it
in
mean more
small
like the fertility
sculptures by
statue sort of
ingesting
thing. But I guess that's
sand
the
and
feed and
clay.
stuff like that, you know?
Vilnus care for Kinsandy by providing new pottery for them to use. The
No.
fire in their belly burns at over 2,000 degrees. They
So don't
are
stick your hand in
incredibly
there.
nurturing, but trainers should be careful as their hugs have been known to leave severe burns.
How?
And its ability is flash fire. So fire type attacks do not deal damage to it. Instead, they
Why
raise
would you
the
hit this thing
Pokemon's
with a fire type attack?
attacks.
Well, I guess if you didn't know it was
Vilnus
fire
is
type, you could just
bulky
hit it by
and
just like,
powerful,
will
but
this
a
work?
couple
No,
water-type
no, it will
attacks
not.
do
I have to
make
remember that in
short work of
future.
it. Chris then sends out his very own little Settlement.
Ah, cute.
Easy enough to take down, but you are
I kinda
excited
like
to
this
see
thing.
what that Pokemon may eventually evolve into. Lastly,
It just
Chris
evolves
sends out
into a
his
whale,
ace.
and we're
Yep.
it's actually a
It is time
pre-evolution
for
the
another
entire time.
evolution. Now there are a couple different
I think
ways.
this guy's
you
got
can
like
go
5
with a
Pokemon
ground
then.
type Eevee.
And we're like at the
I see
fourth
a
team
lot
or
of
something like that.
Egyptian-looking designs, which are pretty cute, and I was tempted to go
I like
that
the
route
pharaonic
since
designs.
You know,
Those are cool.
Archaeological aesthetic feels like it ties in well with the Palean region, but you know the evolutions are actually the only designs that should be kind of standalone and not really
Background
tied
noise
to
if
the
you hear
region's theming. Oh, and also because there's another idea that I just couldn't not do. I love bunnies like a lot. Like I love rabbits so much.
Of
so
course,
I
rabbits.
couldn't resist having our ground type evolution be a little dust bunny.
Okay,
I
that's
think
cool.
this
I
works
like that
since
idea.
The somewhat ambiguous evolution designs could be read as little, fox rabbits.
Sure, why
And
not?
honestly, the design
I'm
just
more a fan
fell
of the
into
Pharaoh
place right
designs,
away.
but
I
this
gave it
bunny's a
some
pretty
thin,
good
wispy
original
bits of
idea
fur
with it, you
that
know?
trailed dirt behind it, just like a real dust bunny, and ended up with something that looks both soft and dirty at the same time. Oh, and because of that light
Okay,
and
so in this
fluffy,
episode we've got
granulated
something where
texture,
if
I
you
went
hug
ahead
it you
and
get
let the shiny be
muddy,
cotton
something if you
candy
hug
or
it you get burned, and
candy
something if you
floss
hug it you'll get
colors.
dusty. This
Here
episode is
is
not
our
like
dirty
hugs.
little evolution, Dustyon, the dust bunny Pokemon.
I like how it's alternative could be look
This
like it's a
Pokemon's
fairy
long,
type.
wispy fur is specifically suited to pick up dirt. Though often covered in grime, Dustyon enjoy cleaning. They go out of their way to wriggle into small spaces where they might find dust to add to their coats.
Here, look
They
under my
shake off
sofa.
massive clouds of dirt if they ever need to make a quick escape. Its ability is Sand Rush, so that doubles the Pokemon's speed during a sandstorm. This little fuzzball is quite fast for a ground type and proves to be a real challenge. Eventually, you do knock it down. Afterwards, you see that your battle has energized the unsure researcher.
Ah,
That
that's
battle
good.
was just what I needed. We may have lost, but seeing my Pokemon give it their all showed me we should take on Team Arc.
There we go.
First off,
He just needed to
give me
get
that
back in
ID
the
badge of yours.
groove.
You follow Chris back through the
That's
winding
good.
tunnels and emerge outside again. You both join the meeting where everyone has been waiting.
We need to do something. Team Arc is constantly causing trouble and stealing the revived Pokemon.
That's the spirit. We're not ones to run from a fight.
Good to see you've come around, and I suspect my assistant had something to do with it. Well, if you
I
are
may
on
have
board,
lent a helping
then it is
hand.
decided. We will travel south to Creta Cliff and oust Team Arc and their leader from the Paleon region once and for all.
It looks like there is a real conflict on the horizon. The other researchers wait for you to be ready, and you all leave for Route 8. But before we end the episode, I need more suggestions from you. I want to make sure
We'll
that
be
I have
going over
lots
the
of time
fairy
for this,
type
so
ideas
these
in the
suggestions will
0.5
be for a video
episode.
that will
We're
come
starting to
out
run
in
out
a
of
week from
well,
Tuesday.
I was
I've
going
had
to
a
say we're running
blast
out of
designing your
0.5
ideas,
episodes
but I
considered,
haven't had the
but
opportunity
we'll
to
just
do
have a
any
couple of weeks where there's
three-stage
no
designs. In
0.5s,
fact,
and then we'll
the
have a
region
week where
as a
there's
whole is
2.5s.
dominated by two-stage designs, and we need to remedy that. So, as always, any suggestions?
I mean,
for new
sometimes it can be
Pokemon
easier to
based
go
on
2
extinct
stages than
animals
3. It
or
evolves into
prehistoric
this.
concepts?
3
It's
stages could
great
be a
if
bit
you
more
have an idea
complicated.
about how it
Just because you
works
have
as
to
a
have an extra
three-stage
level.
evolution,
You have to
but
either
that's not
add a
required.
middle form or
And
add
as far
a
as
final
types go,
form.
things are
Or add a
mostly
baby form, to
pretty
be fair.
Balanced
That happens
in the
sometimes.
Paleon region right now, so you can suggest anything. Though technically, if you care, we are the lowest on normal, electric, poison, psychic, and fairy types.
So we'll add all these
So if
types
you
of.
have an
Actually, a
idea, I
poison
would
fairy
love to
sounds pretty
hear it
dangerous.
Down in the comments below.
How do I
Alrighty.
kill this thing? Well,
Thank
steel
you
would
all
work,
so
but
much
you
for
know.
watching, and please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. As always, I love
This
to hear
episode
all
hated
your
hugs.
thoughts on today's episode, especially your suggestions.
I kind of like the
And a
Setamon
huge
the
thank you
most,
to
just
Chris
because I
for
like.
being our ground type
I kind of like the
researcher.
past
Thank you to
whole
Aaron
thing,
and Beth
like
also.
how whales
And I'll see
turn
you
into
in
wolves and stuff
episode
like that. It's
16.
just like,
Bye.
but how though? How does that work? I think before my original channel got terminated, I had a freaking theory as to I had an explanation as to why Skitty and Whale Lord were in the same egg class, and basically did tie into the whole whales turn into a wolves thing, and that's why they're in the class. So it was actually a deep cut reference sort of thing, and it's like, I mean, you can headcanon that, but realistically, it's just an oops. I really don't think Game Freak was. Well, maybe they were. I don't know. I don't know how Game Freak thinks sometimes. But quite frankly, I don't think they do either. Not that it's a knock, but you know. I am kind of. It is kind of fascinating to me though that all this happened just because the first fish decided I'm gonna go on land now, and then it died off, but other fish decide we'll do that too. How about not? I mean, I'm sure they evolved to have, like, legs and stuff, but it just seems wild to me that, like, if they didn't do that, we'd still all be in the sea. And hell, humans probably wouldn't exist. Most likely not. The past is interesting at some point. But yeah, the Dust Bunny evolution was cute, and, yeah, the vase thing was also kind of cool. So yeah. Good stuff to see, and yeah, another episode where I learned something that was very interesting. There, yeah, word good. I should stop there because I'm starting to have a word vomit salad thingy. So I'll see you on the next episode. Later.